Interesting. Hey, hello there, ladies and gentlemen. 'Tis I, Michael A. Grimm, aka the Multi-Voice. I have many voices, but one opinion. And usually when I talk about DC superheroes, I always wear my Batman shirt. But for now, I'm wearing my Superman shirt because I'm going to talk about a team that's been around before Batman and Superman decided to create the Justice League. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because I have heard and seen the trailer of a new DC superhero movie coming out called Black Adam. And one thing I notice about Black Adam is that Black Adam, he's going to be dealing with the Justice Society of America. Now, for those of you who are wondering who are the Justice Society of America, well, let's just say that they are a group of superheroes before the Justice League. So, some of you have seen my review of the Justice League of America Secret Origin. Well, and I dived into the catacomb of the origin from the comic books. Well, I'm going to do the same thing for the Justice Society. And I'm going to be calling out every single member of the team. For those of you who don't even know about the original Justice Society. And believe it or not, they came out in a comic book called All-Star Comics 1940. Isn't that interesting? And they were the same group of heroes who battled against the Nazis during World War II. So they pretty much formed a team of superheroes to battle against the Germans during World War II. Now, first thing I'm going to be talking about is each member of the team. Starting off with Green Lantern. Now, Green Lantern, as Alan Scott, which I kind of mentioned in the Justice League video, one thing I know about Alan Scott's Green Lantern is he's the Golden Age Green Lantern, not the modern where he's gay. On this, now, this Alan Scott from the Golden Age, now, his powers and abilities is the same thing as the other Green Lantern Corps, but this lantern he has is not from space, who used the technology of a ring that works on willpower. This one is about a magical lantern. And it started out as a green meteorite. It landed on the Earth, and it started talking. So it's a magical lantern that talks. And some of the people took that meteor and just made a lamp out of it. And then all of a sudden they welded into a lamp on a train. And when the train crashed, Alan Scott found the lamp. And the lamp chose him to be the welder and gave him a ring. It goes along with it. So Alan Scott has the same powers and ability from the ring. It's just the ring is more magical than science fiction. So it's more of a fantasy point of view than a science fiction point of view. And Alan Scott is not like a galactic police officer. He just goes around as a vigilante superhero with the power ring. But, you know, it's kind of funny. It's kind of funny seeing Alan Scott with that outfit. I mean, if you see him dressed like that and point that ring at you, it makes you want to throw your hands up and say, "Dude, you can look like any circus performer you want. I don't care." But one thing that pretty much proven, I mean, from the beginning in the Golden Age, Alan Scott had a daughter, and her name was Jade. Now, Jay, known as Jennifer Lynn Hayden, she turns out to be a love interest for Kyle Rayner, one of the Green Lantern Corps members. Now, enough about the Green Lantern. Let's get to the other superhero, which I briefly mentioned in my last review. Of course, the Flash, Jay Garrick. Now, one thing I know about Jay Garrick's origin of Flash, his origin is very similar to Barry Allen. Except Barry Allen, he just mixed up the chemicals, and a lightning struck him with so he got struck by lightning, chemicals mixed into his DNA, made him the fastest man alive. In this one, Jay Garrick, he just had a bunch of chemicals, and he dropped them, and they all smashed together. And it's all supposed to be like hard water fumes, vapors. And the vapors from the hard water of the chemicals that he made got into him, and he inhaled it, and that's how he became the fastest man alive. Now let's get to the one that people would say he is downright spooky. A lot spookier than my main man, Batman? Actually, yeah, because he's more of a supernatural being. Because he has superpowers, but more spiritual. And that superhero I'm going to be talking about is none other than the Spectre. Now, for those of you who don't know about the Spectre, he goes by the name of Jim Corrigan. Jim Corrigan. He was a police detective until he was about ready to take down the mob, until a bunch of mob ambushed him, bashed him in the head with the butt of their gun, knocking him out, and they put him in a wooden barrel filled up with cement, and then just throw it into the lake where he drowned. Now, even though he drowned, his soul didn't rest in peace. He didn't went to heaven because somebody out there wanted him to continue on fighting crime as a ghost. So, he took on the persona of the Spectre and become the spirit of vengeance. So anytime when somebody does something bad, and if the justice system ain't doing their job, well, the Spectre's gonna do his job by scaring the hell out of you and either make you confess your sins, or he'll make you die. I mean, he'll kill you in his own way, in his spiritual way. And of course, Jim is not the only one who was the Spectre. One time, Hal Jordan, the second Green Lantern, one time he was so greed with power that he became evil, goes by the name of Parallax. And then after he got defeated, he died by sacrificing himself to save the Green Lantern Corps, and he became a Spectre for a short while. Until finally, Hal Jordan got back to normal, but Jim came back as the Spectre once again. Now let's get to a certain superhero who is a Sorcerer Supreme. No, not Doctor Strange, because he belongs in Marvel. I'm talking about a Sorcerer Supreme from the DC universe, which is Dr. Fate. Now, Dr. Fate, he goes by the name of Kent Nelson, and while exploring the Egyptian area, he found this mystical helmet which is worn by an Egyptian god who goes by the name of Nabu. Now, Nabu, he's supposed to be an Egyptian god and also the law of order, who's supposed to bring order out of chaos. And sometimes it ain't always Kent Nelson who is Dr. Fate. Other people even took over the persona of Dr. Fate. So, there's your Sorcerer Supreme in the DC Universe, who is a member of the Justice Society. Now let's talk about a certain superhero who takes medication to sustain his power, and it's none other than Hourman. Hourman, his name is Rex Tyler, and he is a chemist. He does research on chemistry and medications, that he created his own vitamin pills that pretty much gives him superpowers. But the reason why he is called Hourman is because those powers only lasted for like an hour. And that's why he always carries this hourglass around his neck. So every time when the glass goes out, that's telling him that his power is going to go out soon. So he has to take his medication to continue, or make sure the job is done. Now, of course, Rex Tyler isn't the only one. His son, Richard Tyler, took over. And then his great-grandson, Matthew Tyler, took over as Hourman. Now, let's talk about the guy who... you take one look at him, you would think he definitely deserves in the Pulp Fiction magazine. None other than the Sandman. Now, unlike the Sandman, which I'm going to tell you soon, this Sandman, he goes by the name of Wesley Dobbs. He's a rich billionaire, just like Batman, but he solves crime by wearing a suit and a cape and a gas mask, a fedora, and carries a gas gun that knocks people out. Now, he was a very interesting superhero who just walks around with a gas mask and a gas gun, knocking people out, wearing a snazzy suit and hat, until another superhero back in '74 took over the mantle as Sandman, who goes by the name of Garrett Servard. He becomes the Sandman, but unlike the Sandman Wesley, this Sandman, he's a spirit of dreams. He goes into people's dreams and stop the nightmares haunts them. So he's kind of a superhero who goes into people's dreams. He becomes the master of dreams. Kind of like what if Freddy Krueger was a superhero. You have Sandman. And of course, Sandman's trusty sidekick named Sandy, known as Sandy Hawkins, Sandy Hawkins, he goes on the persona called the Sand. He's the same power and ability, just like the other Sandman. And then after that, that one British writer goes by the name of Neil Gaiman. He decided to make his own version of Sandman, which his real name is actually Morbius, aka Dream. And yes, for those of you who are going to be telling me, I heard that there's going to be a TV series based on Neil Gaiman's comic, The Sandman, on Netflix. Which I am going to watch, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, I'm going to be waiting for August so the thing will show up, and I'll check it out myself, see what I think, because I am a real sucker to Neil Gaiman's style of writing. I mean, heck, I enjoy Alan Moore. I also enjoy Neil Gaiman. And I also enjoy Terry Pratchett's stories, too, because his stories are really good. But let's get out of the sand and into something called Atom. Now, the Atom, I heard, goes by the name of Al Pratt. He was bullied since he was young. I mean, he was bullied all the way to high school. But that never stopped him for believing in good and justice and everything. And then he found himself a suit. It granted him superpowers. So he has super strength and agility. Until another Atom took his place, who goes by the name of Ray Palmer. Except Ray Palmer can shrink to microscopic size, but his strength is 10 times as strong while he shrinks. Just like Ant-Man. Until Al got himself a special suit and goes by the name of Atom Smasher. And also his son, he got himself a suit as well, and he took over as Damage. Now let's go on to the one who flies, known as, which I thought he was called Birdman, but I was wrong, Hawkman. Now, Hawkman, he goes by the name of Cator Hall. And his origin is a little off. I mean, some people say that he was a prince of Egypt who's reincarnated, while other origins saying that he is an alien from Trigor. He's an alien from the planet Trigor, and he's like a cop alien, so he brings justice in the galaxy. Him and his girlfriend, Hawkgirl, they both team up together to fight crime. So I don't know if they're sticking with the him being an alien or him being a reincarnated Prince of Egypt. But one thing they do have is that the technology, the alien technology they have, I mean, Hawkman carries an axe, while Hawkgirl carries a mace, and the material that it's made out of is nth metal. Now let's get into one. Now this one is a character who kind of makes you think if Aladdin was a superhero. And the superhero I'm going to be telling you now is Johnny Thunder, and also Thunderbolt. Now, Johnny Thunder, when he was a young boy, he met a tribe and did some sort of ritual to him until he was able to have ability. Everything he says happens. Until all of a sudden he finally discovered that the source of his power comes from a genie who shows up, who goes by the name of Thunderbolt. So, pretty much, when he says, "So cool," Thunderbolt shows up, and everything he says is the genie's demand. So, kind of be interesting to have Thunderbolt going like, "You ain't never had a friend, never had a friend, you ain't never had a friend, never had a friend, you ain't never had a friend like me." I'm sorry, I'm just a huge Robert Williams fan, and I always love that song. I really do miss Robert Williams. I mean, he was the best comedian I ever noticed. But anyway, now, Johnny Thunder, he got so old and weak that he wanted Thunderbolt find a new master. And he gone through two. There is Johnny, Jonni, who is a woman. And of course now there is Jacqueline Thunder. Another descendant who found Thunderbolt. Now let's get to the other members. I mean, the new ones who kind of joined in. And yes, I heard that Wonder Woman was a member of the Justice Society, but sadly it was in the 40s, so they kind of made Wonder Woman a secretary of the group. I think she's better off with the Justice League. But anyway, let's get to another story. Now, this one is a story about a superhero who went blind and have night vision. And the superhero I'm going to be telling you now is, of course, Dr. Midnight. Now, Dr. Midnight, he goes by the name of Charles McNider? McNerder? Sometimes I have a hard time trying to pronounce their last name, but how it happened is that he went blind, but he was also a scientist, so he was doing some tests for his eyes until he was able to have night vision. So now he found himself a costume and some goggles that helps him see in the night along with the mask, and also communicate, and also makes friends with an owl who becomes his trusty companion. And of course, Charles didn't become the only person. There was also Beth Chapel and Peter Cross. So it's kind of cool to have a superhero with night vision, huh? I mean, Batman, he kind of has night vision, but technological night vision's on his mask. I'm too bad movies couldn't made that. Now let's talk about a certain person that people call him Terrific, aka Mr. Terrific. Now, Mr. Terrific, also known as Terry Sloan, now, he's a very smart and brilliant athletic man. He can win at chess. He can win at any kind of sports. So he's kind of like what if Flash Gordon stays on Earth and become a superhero. And he always wears a shirt that says fair play on his chest because he always a good sportsman and always believe in fair play. And after he got old and probably passed away, another Mr. Fantastic named Michael Holt he became Mr. Fantastic after he lost his wife, and now invented these little orbs that flies around that has T's on them, and they become his personal assistant. His electronic personal assistant. Now let's get somebody who is from the stars, known as Starman. Now, I did talk about Starman, who is a Japanese superhero, and I'm not talking about Starman, aka Jeff Bridges' movie. I haven't reviewed that movie, but I promise I will review Jeff Bridges' Starman. But right now, let's stick with the comics, shall we? Now, he got himself a star power gravity rod, so he kind of flies around with this rod he carries with him. And he goes by the name of Ted Knight. And after Ted was getting old, he wanted his sons to take over. One of his sons did take over, but he died instantly because he was too eager and careless. So his other son, who was he didn't want to become a superhero, but he gave him the persona named Jack Knight. And unlike the star power gravity rod, he made himself a star powered gravity staff. It looks like a giant golden hook. And he uses that as part of his power. Now, there are like tons of other Starman, other superheroes who took the persona of Starman, but I don't want to go through it. I mean, there are like over 6 or 7 Starmans in the DC comics, so I'm just going to show you what they all look like. Now let's... And of course, another thing I also forgot, that there was a female superhero who took over the persona as Stargirl. She found the Star staff and took on the persona as Stargirl. And also her stepdad helped, so he wore a suit of armor, calls himself Stripe. So Stargirl and Stripe. Now Stargirl, her name is Country Whitmore, and she didn't know anything about her dad, but she found some evidence about that he was the greatest superhero known as Starman, and it turns out that the staff chose her to use it, and her stepfather goes by the name of Patrick Dugan. Now, unlike other stepfathers, he cared about her, and he didn't want her to get her hurt. So that's why he created this suit of armor, so he can keep an eye on her to make sure she doesn't get hurt in any way. So, it's not often that you have a superhero duo, which is a daughter and a stepfather, become a superhero team. Now that's different. I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty cool. Having a stepdad who wants to become your trusty sidekick. Yeah. Now let's get to the one who dresses like a cat, known as Wildcat. Now, Wildcat, he was a former boxer, and he was like a champion. But after his career of boxing was over, he decided to continue on as a superhero, so he wears this cat suit, and his name is Ted Grant. Now, after his years being Wildcat, knocking out every single bad guy with his left and right hooks, his son, now, he had a son who goes by the name of Thomas Bronson, who calls himself Tomcat. He took over Wildcat's position until a girl decided to take over as Wildcat, who goes by the name of Yolinda Montez. Now enough about the cat-themed superhero. Let's talk about a superhero called the Blackcanary. Now, one thing I know about Blackcanary is that her name is Diane Drake. And one thing I know about her, she's a martial artist, very skilled with her hands and feet. I mean, she was like the female... I mean, she's one of those really tough, stern, really skilled with her martial arts skills until she retired, and then another girl who goes by the name of Diane Lentz, who ended up with Green Arrow, aka Oliver Queen, and they both got married. And of course, another character who has a thing for crossbows, the Huntress. Now, the Huntress, her name is Helena Wayne, so she must be she might be related to Bruce Wayne, aka Batman. But instead of taking, just wear a costume and fight crime with gizmos and gadgets, she wore a costume and fight crime with her crossbow. So she goes around shooting her crossbows against criminals. And of course, another female character who goes by the name of Libertybell. Wow, very patriotic, huh? Her name is Jessie Chapman. Now, she became Libertybell for a while, until now she has like a speed ability just like the Flash, so she goes by the name of Jessie Quick, and met a guy who's also a speedster named Johnny Quick. And then there is Missamerica, who goes by the name of Joan Dell. And of course there is Powergirl, which I know who Powergirl is. Powergirl, she is a full-grown version of Supergirl. So I guess Supergirl is all grown up and hates taking the persona of Supergirl, so she decided to call herself Powergirl. But I wish they quit making her so goddamn buxom. Seriously. I mentioned this before, but it bears repeat. One time a comic book artist think he can make her so hot by making her boobs bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until he got a letter from the fan saying, okay, stop making them big, please. So he just makes them more like Anna Nicole Smith big. And then there's another superhero who goes by the name of Cyclone. Now, Cyclone, her name is Maxine Huckle, and she is the granddaughter to a wannabe superhero who goes by the name of Red Tornado. Now, not like the cyborg, the robot Red Tornado, which he's like a DC version of Vision. This Red Tornado was a wannabe female superhero, and her mask is just a big cooking pot with holes on it. And her name is Ma Huckle. And then there is Captainsteel. Goes by the name of Hank Haywood. Hank Haywood. Now, there are other Captain Steels, except they go by Commander Steel, Citizen Steel, and of course, the one you heard, Steel, the black guy who wears a Iron Man-like suit and carries a electronic sledgehammer. And you know, it's kind of funny. Since we have the Black Adam movie, we also have a Shazam Part 2 coming out soon. Black Adam is Shazam's arch nemesis. Why not they do Shazam versus Black Adam? It would have been a lot better. And of course, one thing I also know about the Justice Society, they would have been dealing against the Injustice Society, a group of supervillains who formed their own society. But of course, one thing you should know, what happened to the Justice Society and why Justice League is become more popular than they are? Well, according to the comic book of New Frontier, which I have it on DVD, but it doesn't show it on the DVD. But they did show it in the comics, where it takes place in the 50s during the McCarthy era. Yeah, instead of Frank Wortham, who says comic books are the cause of juvenile delinquency, the superheroes were dealing against Senator Joseph McCarthy. And everybody knows about his thing. He wouldn't even last a single day without calling somebody a communist. And it was during the Cold War against the Russians, so anybody who sided with the Russians are communists. Back in the 50s. So McCarthy told the Justice Society that they don't want the world to be protected by people who have secret identities. If they want to save America, they should reveal their secret identities. But of course, all secret identities should be kept a secret, so they vanish. Until New Frontier, they finally brought the Justice Society back in action with some new members. And that is my review of the Justice Society of today. And you know, I know that kind of sounds familiar to the Civil War, but I think this is what they should have ended with. All the superheroes decided to keep their secret identities, instead of just having this big war of superhero against superhero, because that is so freaking retarded. Team Captain America, all the way! But that's just my point. But this is my review for the day, and if any of you like this review about the Justice Society, and got you very interested, please leave a comment down below, hit like and subscribe for more, and I had to get going. So, I'm the multi-voice reviewer. I remembered so I can jog your memory.